Jaguares Super Rugby 2020 season. I'll talk about a few things. I didn't get around to doing their review for the 2019 season, so I'll get that stuff out of the way first in kind of an abridged version. And talk about what we can expect to see from them for 2020. The expectations in terms of their overall result, how the squad's looking, who's out, and who's come in. You guys will probably be able to give me some more insights about some of the guys coming in. But yeah, it is going to be an interesting campaign for the Jaguares. For 2019, beaten finalists, I think was a pretty good season overall. Obviously, it was a disappointing end. No one wants to see your team lose the final. But as a Blues fan whose team has not made the playoffs in many years, I would say it was still a pretty good season, and I'd be pretty happy to be a Jaguares fan. The first couple of seasons in Super Rugby, you would say they were disappointing and didn't live up to their expectations. And then slowly, they seem to be getting their playoffs one year and then finalists the next. So it's just one more step for them to go before they can get their hands on the trophy. But it's not going to be easy. They've got a lot of competition, and their first job is to really top that South African conference, but I'll get to that in a minute. So for 2019, like I said, good job. Made the final. That last game was a disappointing one, but for the most part, the season overall was successful. The good things, when you look at their stats from 2019, they were the fourth best team overall in terms of the amount of points they scored per game. They were fourth overall at winning their lineout, fourth overall at winning the opposition lineout, and a lot of that's Guido Petty. He is a really good lineout operator. Tries conceded, they were 14th. So the defensive record was very, very good. The only team who conceded fewer tries per game than the Jaguares was the Crusaders. So if you're going to be the fourth best team at scoring points and the 14th one for conceding tries, you are going to go and have a very good season, which is what the Jaguares did last year. Interestingly, if you look at a lot of their stats, which I'm going to get to under kind of the bad stats, it probably ties in with these last two good ones, which is kicks in play and kick meters per game. The Jaguares are number one. They kick the ball up the field more than any other team in Super Rugby, at least for 2019. So if you look at some of their stats, like on run meters, they are the 13th team, so at the bottom. Line breaks, they're the 13th team, so again, near the bottom. Tackle busts, 11th, so a bit better, but still in the bottom half. Offloads, 13th. Interestingly, their goal kicking percentage was 12th, which at 73% is definitely one area to be improved on. But all those ones, run meters, line breaks, tackle busts, offloads, I don't know whether I would say that's bad, but it is just probably a tactical choice. They're kicking to get up the field rather than trying to run their way through the opposition. So it's a tactical choice. And they're still scoring points. You don't need to be the number one team, to bust tackles to score a lot of points. And the Jaguares proved that last year. And it wasn't just penalties. They're not the top team in scoring penalties. It's a lot of tries for these guys. So, interestingly, like the Crusaders, their penalty record is not very good. For penalties conceded, they were second in all Super Rugby teams on average. So conceding a lot of penalties. And for penalties won, they were down at 11th. So it was almost exactly the same with the Crusaders. They give away a lot of penalties and get rewarded with very few. And yet it doesn't seem to matter because they end up at the top of the table. So it's an interesting one because you would think the teams who are following the rules, not getting penalized, and are forcing the opposition to give away penalties would be the team which is on top. But the Crusaders and the Jaguares proved that to be pretty much false. In terms of individuals, the good thing about the Jaguares, which is I'm kind of optimistic about their season, is among the backs, a lot of the good stats were spread around several key guys. But there was one guy who stood out for the Jaguares last season, and it wasn't a back, it was a forward, and that was Pablo Matera. He had an absolutely phenomenal Super Rugby season. It's disappointing they didn't do as well at the Rugby World Cup based on that Super Rugby form, because the Super Rugby form of that man in particular, but the team generally, was very good. I know it's different teams, the Pumas and the Jaguares, but a lot of the same players. But Matera especially, I think he was probably the best player in Super Rugby 2019. He led the Jaguares forwards for run meters, for line breaks, tackle busts, offloads, even tackles, which is more of like a less kind of glamorous thing and more of a hard-working thing. He was their second best average tackler per game as well. So the guy was just doing everything, which is a little bit of a concern for next year, because if you look at the squad, there's several players coming in, most of them from the Jaguares 15 or some club sides. One of the props is coming back from France. I'll be honest, I don't know many of these guys. I know Mensa, but I've just read, and someone told me about it in the YouTube comments on another video just today, that he's not going to be with the Jaguares for 2020. He's going to be playing in that new competition in South America. So that's a bit of a disappointing one. But yeah, there's certainly some young talent coming through. I'll leave it to you guys to tell me who I should look out for. I've already had a few names previously, but any further info would be helpful. Some of the names going out, it's not a full list, but just some of the key ones. Garcia Botta is leaving. Lavanini is leaving, so that I don't want to say old school, but it's a pairing of Petty and Lavanini that goes back a long way. Someone a long time ago mentioned that it's kind of the skills guy and the muscle guy. It's the enforcer and like the playmaker kind of guy. So Petty at line-out time, one of the best in the world. I rate him, literally among the best in the world. And Lavanini kind of gets a bit of a bad reputation for being a brute based on some previous stuff, but he is there to fill that enforcer role to a degree. When he tackles you, you feel it. So yeah, he's gone, but Petty is staying, which is good news. Matera, the guy I mentioned earlier, he's gone to Stade Francais. That's a big hole to fill. Like, there's a lot of good loose forwards in that Jaguares pack, but Matera, I think, is like an X-factor player. So I will be keen to see somebody else step up to that level, but I do think, not that rugby's like an individual game, he is really that kind of X-factor player that is, it's almost impossible to find a like-for-like replacement. Other guys gone, Leguizamo, kind of at that stage of his career, so that's fine. Landajo has gone over to England, so there's still plenty of depth in that number 9 jersey, so that's fine. Gonzalez, Iglesias, and Mojano. I'm pretty gutted about Mojano because I was always at my happiest watching the Jaguares when it was Boffelli, Delgui, and Mojano in the back three. But that's not going to happen for 2020 with Mojano going. He's not that quick, but he runs incredible angles, so he's quick. I'm just saying he's not the quickest, but he picks the perfect line to run. So who's left? I'm not going to go through the whole team, but I've just had a quick look. What could a possible Jaguares starting team look like for 2020? So Michael Vivas, you can put him at loose head, Julio Montoya at hooker, and Santiago Medrano at tight head. That's a pretty useful front row. The scrum is one area that I think they still need to step up. If you can dominate a team at scrum time, then you're going to be putting yourself really forward to win some games. If you're getting dominated, then it just makes everything that little bit harder, especially if the handling conditions are not the best. The second row, maybe Petty and Alemano. He's usually the guy who comes off the bench for them, but he could certainly do a starting job. Thomas Lozana, Rodrigo Bruni, and Marcos Kremer could be in the back row. Kremer can also go into the second row, but he's played a fair bit at 7, so there's no reason he couldn't do that there. Again, you still think that looks better with Matera, but he's gone, so what are you going to do? You can put Betrano at 9. I'd love to see Miotti get some runs at 10. That guy, I think, like Vivas, is another one of these guys who's relatively young and probably needs more time. If he's going to fulfill his potential for Argentina, he needs more time at this level. He needs to be in that number 10 jersey. De La Fuente and Orlando you could have in the midfield. Cancellieri, Boffelli, and Delgui in the back three. There's plenty of guys. And this is not to mention guys like Matias Moroni, Juan Cruz Malia, Diaz Bonilla, who actually I thought was very good for the Jaguares last year. Unfortunately, in the final, he had a kind of a poor game. But for the most part, I thought he was a really good playmaker for the Jaguares in the 2019 campaign. And it's part of the reason they did as well as they ended up doing. So even though I would like to see Miotti get more game time, I still think Diaz Bonilla is a good player if you're going to play him at 10. Lucas Mensah, like I mentioned, apparently not going to be playing. He's going to be playing, I forget the name of it, is it the Super League in the New South American professional game, which is it's still good to see him getting game time, but I would like to see him with the Jaguares. Tukelet's still there, Kubeli, Ortega Decio, Lucas Paulos is another second rower, so there's still plenty of guys to rotate around depending on how Coach Gonzalo Quesada wants to go. He does continue on as coach, so I think the impact we saw with him at the Jaguares was a pretty impressive one. So I hope, again, that he can take it a step further. He did pretty well for a guy coming into the job fresh. In terms of the expectations, I think based on the squad, the expectations will be relatively high. And based on last year's performance. If you're looking at the World Cup, which again you have to separate, it is sometimes difficult with how many players are in both squads. But based on World Cup results, you would say the expectations were low. But based on what the Jaguares did, and it is a different thing, they're going to be pretty high. The South African teams have lost a lot of players overseas, more than what the Jaguares have lost, even though they've lost quite a few. So I think the Jaguares should be looking to top the pool. They are the top favoured team in the South African Conference. So to meet expectations, I think they need to, bare minimum, make the playoffs, absolutely, and should be looking to top the South African Conference. The travel factor is always going to be an interesting one. But in terms of their schedule, 3 games at home, then 3 games in South Africa, then 4 weeks at home, which includes a bye. So it's a nice transition from home, away, home, nice big blocks. Then the tough part comes, which is 4 away games, so against the Brumbies, the Blues, and the Crusaders. So that's going to be a real test, plus the Sunwolves in Singapore before going back home for 3 weeks, including a bye, and then 1 final game in South Africa against the Lions. So how they perform in South Africa could be a crucial one. It's traditionally been a pretty hard hunting ground for the Jaguares. They seem to do okay on their tour of New Zealand and Australia. Really impressive, actually, but it's the South African games away that I think they need to step up another notch and maybe look for some wins. So, yeah. How they go without Matera, I think is the big question. Bounce back from some Rugby World Cup disappointment with some Super Rugby success would be nice. The travel is always going to be hard, but if they manage it properly and rotate the squad around, which I mentioned does have a fair bit of depth, get some young guys to step up, I think it could be a pretty good season for the Jaguares. But we will see. You never can tell until it really happens. You guys let me know your thoughts on the squad. How do you think these guys are going to line up? As I said, if you got any inside knowledge onto some of these young players coming through, if you know any YouTube videos which has the players in them, do send the links through. Be definitely keen to check those out. But yeah, we'll see how they go. You guys let me know your thoughts. Talk to you again soon. See you later, guys.